Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new, the great, the Fetch movie that just came out called Send Help. It's a movie I didn't know I needed, but here we are. We all needed this movie. It was so good. Right off the bat, I'm just going to tell you, it was good. So this review is mostly just going to be positive. You know, I don't even think I have one negative thing to say about this movie, which is rare. But it's a good thing. We're starting off the year great. This was my first movie theater experience of the year, and I'm glad it went off with a bang or a crash, plane crash. Anyways, if you are new here, hello, my name is Connie, and I like to yap about movies and TV shows on the YouTube. And if that interests you, please hit that subscribe button. That way you can see more of my content. And if you don't, that's okay too. All right, let's get into today's review. Moving on, this video will contain spoilers. Send Help is directed by the one, the only, the great Sam Raimi. I believe it's been 17 years since his last film that he has directed. I mean, he's directed Evil Dead and Spider-Man. He's a legend. He's really good at his craft, and I'm glad he is returning to the big screen along with Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, a pair that worked so well together. Is literally like a match made in heaven. So this film is about pretty much two coworkers. One is the boss and one should be the boss but is not. They are on a plane. It crashes. And they are on a deserted island together and they have to figure out how to survive and learn who's the boss. Is it the boss that was in the office? Nope, it is not. So I knew this film was gonna go somewhere I wasn't expecting, and I'm glad I just let it take me on this ride instead of trying to figure out where it was gonna go. When I read the plot, I was like, okay, so two people, they hate each other, they're on a deserted island. That can't be all, okay? Because the trailer looked wild, and it's Sam Raimi. Like, it's not just going to be about this, and I was right. But I wasn't trying to figure out the ending at all because this movie was a journey, and it was a great journey, and it was in control, and I wasn't. My brain was not trying to figure out, what's going on here. So in the beginning, who we feel bad for is Linda, Rachel McAdams' character. She is a single woman who is really good at her job. She has a hard time making friends, and we feel bad for her. She's trying so hard, and we can see that. And, you just want to help a sister out. Like, I'll be your friend. I'll go to karaoke night with you. And she seems so lonely. There's a scene where she's at home. She has a bird, her best friend, and we see that she loves Survivor. She has books about how to tie knots and different plants and all this stuff you would need to know in order to survive in the wild. The new boss at work is a asshole. Dylan O'Brien's character, Bradley. He has everything handed to him. Daddy dies, daddy gives him the business. He said give Linda the position, but like most men in positions do, they give the job to a male who's not qualified instead of the woman, Linda, who was promised this position, who deserves this position, who has earned it. But no, Bradley decides to give it to the unqualified male. Anyways, as this movie goes on, who do we end up rooting for? Do we still root for Linda, or are we rooting for Bradley? This movie is definitely a survival thriller with plenty of twists and turns. I would describe it as Castaway meets Misery. So let's get into the first positive. The storyline, it's very different, yet I'm shocked it hasn't been done before. We see two people who don't mesh well together, forced together on this island, and seeing Linda being someone you want to have with you when a plane goes down. She was destined for this to happen to her. She was prepared. Linda is someone you want with you on a plane in case it crashed, because she could survive. She could help you survive. She's a beast. The boss is not a man who seems to like the outdoors, but Bradley does enjoy the outdoors when it involves golfing, but not hunting or fishing or building shelters, all that stuff. He has to let go of who he is, but he doesn't forget who he is in order to survive. He wants to get off this island. But Linda, as it turns out, she does not. In fact, she's thriving on this island. And we see that they are able to be rescued. But Linda has a master plan and strategizes how to complete this task. My second favorite positive is the transformation of Linda and her boss's character. I will include Bradley in there. We see how the power dynamic switches. She is in charge and he can't do shit. He is powerless because she knows what she's doing and he has no clue. When the plane does crash, Bradley does get injured. Nothing's broken, but his leg is badly hurt. So he is down for the count for a little bit, and Linda nurses him back to health. But slowly he does regain his strength. Now he has a plan to get out since he has picked up on the fact that she has no desire to leave. He ends up poisoning her and secretly builds a raft and attempts to escape, but fails when he learns how vast the ocean is. Linda, up until this point, I believe, has been nice to him. Now, after he tries to go against her and her power, she shows him who truly is the boss. I mean, the first lesson she tries to teach him, she just leaves him for a night while his leg was injured, but she comes back and she believes that he understands that they are not in the office anymore. But the second time she makes her point across, the scene had me losing my mind because us as an audience believe something else is going on. So she poisons him, revenge style, and I knew that the octopus she was giving him was poisonous because I don't know where I learned that from, but I do know like certain squid, little octopus thingies, they're toxic. And I was like, don't eat that. But he did. He trusted her. He ate it and was temporarily paralyzed like she was. She wasn't really paralyzed, she was just poisoned. Because earlier on, she takes him on a hike and shows him where he can and cannot go. And they're on this huge cliff, and she says, "You see that X over there? Don't go past it because there's a bunch of thorns, you'll get hurt, yada yada." He believes her, and she also points out berries, how to know which one is toxic. You rub it on your skin, if you have a reaction, it's poisonous. So when he offered to make her dinner, he put one of the berries in the dish, poisons her, and then he tries to escape on a raft. She said, "No, no, no, no. You're not in the office anymore, buddy." So in the scene, she poisons him and she gives this speech and makes him believe that she is going to neuter him. Teach him a lesson, really, like they would do to dogs back in the day. You get them neutered so they listen. Well, all of a sudden, blood just splatters all over him. We're thinking she's cutting his manhood off, but eventually she shows that it's just a rat she's cutting up. But she gets her point across. Don't fuck with the boss. And she lets a little foreshadowing come out how she would have the raft made, how she would do it right, meaning that she could get them out of there. The transformation with Linda was done perfectly. We root for her in the beginning on that island, but we do see a switch. You might love Linda throughout the whole film. I'm not gonna dog you for that. You know, she is one bad ass chick in this movie. I would say surprised me in this, but it's Rachel McAdams. She has range. I knew she would pull this performance off, and she did. She didn't need to prove anything. She's just doing what she does, which is the best. You know, morally, we support her until we notice that she could have been rescued by people, but chose not to because she wants to stay on the island with him. She just loves the situation, gaining that power. But then we start to question her motive. And then at one point, I'm thinking, was the plane crash planned? But it was not. It was just destined to happen that way. Everybody else on the plane died except these two. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think the switch for Linda happened on the plane. In the beginning, her and Bradley's relationship, she was trying to respect boundaries. She knew her worth, but she was still a little bit not confident enough, a little bit insecure. And she mentions talking to Bradley at a Christmas party and that she found him attractive. So when he came to work that day, she seemed excited to talk to him, but he didn't even remember her. But Eventually, he shows his colors. He's not nice. He's not a good boss. And he just tells Linda, hey, prove it. Prove that you can do your job, even though she has been. So he wants to go to a different country. I don't know. I forget the place. Have a meeting with someone. She can show off the work she's done to prove herself. And that's when the plane crash happened. But on the plane, the guy he gave the promotion to found Linda's self audition tape for Survivor, and all the men on the plane are laughing about it. And during this, she knows what's going on, but up until this point, she was working on their strategy for the meeting they were going into, and we could tell she's just defeated. You know, it's just not nice. These men, they're just not nice to her, and they're making fun of her. And we see that she deletes all her work. And I think this is where Linda switches. If there wasn't a plane crash, I think she would have gotten revenge in a different way. But the plane crash happened. And during the plane crash, she was, you know, she thought about herself when that plane went down. Even though the other men tried to take her down with them, take her spot on the plane, she's like, no, 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 this is my seat. Bye-bye. It was done in a very comedic way, but I think that's where the switch for Linda happened. Not on the island, but on that plane. Now, as time goes on the island, we see her confidence blossom. She's the breadwinner and she's in control of her surroundings, which is probably very new to her. At work, she has no friends. She tries, but they don't like her. At home, she's a pet bird, and later on, we learn that she was married and her husband passes away while drunk driving. She mentions that he was very abusive to her and she couldn't take it anymore. So she gave him the keys and poured him his last drink. And that's when that was the last time she saw him. It makes you think again, is that truly what happened? And another thing with her confidence is there's a scene where she's at a waterfall and she can see her reflection and she just loves what she's looking at. It seems like she found her beauty. And while watching the movie, she does look, I mean, she always looks beautiful, but she's kind of glowing as time goes on. And she's got a nice tan, and her hair is natural. And she just is soaking up. She's just soaking it all up. The island helped her and maybe also failed her because once her confidence boosted, she became more powerful, which led her to make decisions a sane person wouldn't make. Bradley, on the other hand, the island is making him nuts, which should be normal. You know, you're on this deserted island, you're injured. Yeah, you want to go home. You want to get rescued. But going into the third positive, there is a crash out fight scene leading to the final act that was just perfectly insane. Bradley has discovered his fiance dead on the island, and he is pretty sure he knows who killed her. So in the beginning, we see Bradley is engaged to one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. She has this solid rock on her finger. His fiance comes to the island with this man who helped her bring her to the island on a boat, and she sees Linda and she's so excited. And we could tell, I forget his fiance's name. We could tell she had a lot of love for Bradley, and she's explaining to Linda, like, hey, they gave up on you guys. This is weeks later. They gave up on the search, going on. But she's like, I never gave up hope. And Linda is mortified. She can't believe this is happening. And we could see the wheels turning about how she's going to try to get rid of these people, which is just so sad. They met their demise on the cliff, and later on, Linda admits that she might have had something to do with it. Bradley, while adventuring out, finds his fiance's hand in the sand, big rock, so he knows it's her. So in the scene, we see Bradley. He confronts Linda, who has been feeling pretty down. I think this is the most human-like we've seen her on the island. We could tell that she feels bad about it. She even has a wicked nightmare about the dead fiance. Bradley knows she is lying and turns into a predator. He has been holding this back, but once he knows, he unleashes the beast and sprints after her into the island. I was terrified of Dylan O'Brien in this moment. I mean, his face, and he started running after her. I was like, oh shit, Linda, run. Scary as hell when he was running. The fight scene was very intense and felt so real. They were not backing down. This was a battle scene between a man and a woman where I felt like she could handle her own, and I wasn't worried for her. The gore was not too much, and I felt like it was realistic. He, at one point, was trying to take her eyeball out. That was pretty gross, and he scalps her a little bit, and we could hear it. That was nasty. She ends up biting his finger and taking the engagement ring off because he had his fiance's engagement ring on. She bites his finger. She's hunting it in between her teeth, mocking him, and then she swallows it. She was crazy. Eventually, he runs off with a stab wound because Linda found a knife washed up on shore one day that will come back. And he discovers the real reason why Linda did not want him to go on the other side of the island. That is because there is a giant mansion sitting on the edge. It makes sense how she found that knife, but what are the odds of that really happening? Finding a knife while you're stranded? And number 4, this is the climax scene, the ending. I will say the whole movie, not just the ending, had us back and forth between Team Linda or Team Bradley. I can understand if you're one, the other, both, none, whatever. But I was questioning everything. Who do we root for? Do we want them to stay on the island? Are they perfect for each other? Are they in love? Whose decisions are justified? It was like I was watching a tennis game. But with this scene, she is confessing everything to him over the home security and how she knows her way around the house. Eventually, she finds him in the study and holds him at gunpoint. Of course, he is just saying everything she wants to hear, but in the back of my mind, I am like, does she know that he was gonna say this? Or did she think he really wanted to stay on the island with her? Was this her whole plan the whole time to get him to the place of absolute certainty that he would kill her to get off the island and not him changing his mind? She wants to be in control or prove herself to him? Or does she have feelings for him the whole time? Her job was in strategy. That's what this whole movie is about. And now I'm still trying to figure out how she truly felt because in the end, she takes a golf club to his head. In an epic transformation, we see Linda in the future and she's talking to a reporter about being the only survivor of a plane crash and was found on a raft in the ocean. I have to rewatch it because is the motive right there in my face? Is there it had me confused, but in a good way, and I think that's what it was meant to be like. And then 5, this movie was funny, and I wasn't expecting it, but it's Rachel and Dylan. They have range. There's subtle comedic moments that add to this film. It's not a comedy, but has good comedic moments that definitely work for this film. I'm laughing one second and I'm nauseous the next. Now, if we go into negatives, there's honestly none, but if I were to nitpick, it would be the CGI. And you guys know I don't like CGI, and this is not even bad. It's not bad CGI at all, but I could see how others would not like it. Maybe it's not up to date, maybe it's not too realistic, but honestly, I thought it was fine. The plane crash scene was really gnarly. I don't even have a plane ride soon, but I was like, I'm not getting on a plane for a long time. And when it hit the water and the water's rising, oh my gosh, that scene was insane. Overall, Send Help is a solid movie. Gave good survival tips, an epic plane crash scene that had me sweating, fight and conflict scenes that had me engaged. The characters in the story was constantly unfolding. It was never black or white. The dynamic dives in depth with Bradley and Linda's storyline and transformation of their characters. My body the whole time was confused, but in a good way, leaving me wanting to watch it again and find more things I might have missed. Truly a thrilling, fun ride that holds each different emotion, pushing me through the whole movie. Honestly, 10 out of 10 for both performances, which is no shock. But yeah, that is just my overall thoughts. I did not take notes during the movie because I was in it. I'm telling you, this movie is a ride. Your head will be spinning about who to root for. Mostly Linda, but like morally, you can't be like, girl, you can't be on this island. I mean, you could be, but like, you can't hold him hostage, right? right? Even though he's an asshole? But again, not my monkey, not my circus. All right. As always, please stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.